Yeah, I was having a conversation with a friend recently. We were talking about how neither of us talk to conservatives or right wingers or homophobes or racists or transphobes, any of them anymore. We just don't talk to them anymore. We don't try to engage them. We don't argue with them. We don't debate them because it is a waste of time. It is a waste of time. What happens with that particular clump of people who are dynamically all the same, by the way, they're dynamically all the same. They're ultimately at heart fascists. They're ultimately at heart fascists. What they want is dominion. They, in order to sustain their sense of identity, as flimsy as it fucking is, they need an enemy. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't really matter what it is. That's why it changes all over the fucking place all the time. You know, at one point it's refugees, at one point it's immigrants, at one point it's Jews, at one point it's black people, at another it's trans people, at another it's gay people. It doesn't really matter. Whatever they consider to be their ideology, whatever informs their identity, the flimsy fucking spiderweb narratives that inform their sense of identity are so flimsy and so pathetic and so lacking in substance that the only way they can ratify it and continue its what little integrity it has is in reference to the other, is in reference to something, to the demon, to the monster, to the enemy. And right wing ideology in general, conservative ideology in general, is that. The minute you step back, the minute you step back from it all and look at it, if you look at the history of conservatism in the UK, in the US, everywhere, fucking everywhere, that's all it is all the way down. That's all it is all the way down. At present in the UK, we have the right, the current narrative is regarding Brexit, obviously, because it always fucking is. Brexit is a great example of this, actually. Something that was entirely narratively driven and that only occurred because of very carefully cultivated narrative and prejudices that had no basis in reality whatsoever. You cannot, I mean, this is another thing, right? The Brexit lot are cultists. They are as much cultists in the UK as the Trumpers and MAGA are in the US. They have nothing concrete underneath the vibes, the narrative, the slogans, you know, and that's what you're getting now. They are now invested so much. The people who supported Brexit, despite the evident fact that it was a fucking disaster, and there's no way you can. This is not like divergent political opinion. This is not left versus right. This is just plain fucking fact. Brexit was a fucking disaster on every level. And here's the other thing: it was never, ever going to be anything else for normal people. It was not designed to be anything else. It was not intended to be anything else. The rich fuckers and the really dark political powers that engineered Brexit never intended it to be anything other than a fucking disaster for normal people. Either that or they just didn't care that it was going to be a fucking disaster because it made the rich money and it allowed them to funnel more power and more wealth into private hands. And that's the baseline. That's always the baseline. Underneath the bullshit, the narrative, the myths of conservative ideology, all you have is that one imperative: short-sighted, psychopathic desire to funnel money and power into the hands of the few. It doesn't matter if they're killing the planet. It doesn't matter if the economic systems on which they rely for their privilege collapse in on themselves. They don't think that far ahead. Or all they get is that sort of narcissistic pang, that dopamine hit of the power. We've done this. We've got one over on people. If you look at, I mean, I'm studying psychology at the moment. If you look at narcissism, you look at the way narcissists react in a relationship, such as narcissists have relationships, that's how they view things. They view things in terms of power dynamic all the time. And if they get this real rush, this visceral rush, this twinge of pleasure that's almost erotic out of getting one over on people. And that's what conservative ideology is, expanded across countries and political systems. It's enshrined fucking narcissism and everything else, all the bullshit flim-flam, the stories, the narratives, the minute you apply the slightest critical pressure, they collapse in on themselves. They collapse in on themselves because they're not grounded in reality. Here's the thing. Because they're not grounded in reality or reason, you cannot use reality or reason to argue against them. It doesn't matter what you say. As you've all seen this. You've all seen this. If you watch any debate between someone who's not even on the left, but just someone who is like not on any particular political spectrum at all, but is trying to be objective, and someone on the right, this is what you see all the time. They move the goalposts, they shift, they change, they start to argue against straw men. They will not sit on one position and defend it for 1 fucking second because they know it's bullshit. They know on some level that it's bullshit, that it's narrative, and all they're doing, they don't engage honestly, ever. The right wingers, the fascists, particularly the mega fuck and the Brexit lot, they do not argue, they do not engage honestly or sincerely because they've got nothing honest or sincere to rely on. All they have is vibes, feelings, narrative, flimsy fucking stories, myths, ahistorical, anti-reality, anti-reason myths. And that's it. And that's what you're seeing in the UK at the moment. Because, I mean, I fucking hate Keir Starmer, by the way. I think he is just he is basically death to Labour in this country. He is, him and his Blairite cabal, his right of centre, which are moving further and further fucking right, by the way. He is basically, he's flinging open the gates to fascism by constantly appealing. Again, this is a good example. Insincerely, he doesn't believe a fucking word when he's echoing Enoch Powell in his recent addresses. He doesn't believe a fucking word when he's talking about, like, tightening up on immigration. All he's doing is trying to appeal to these fuckers who have nothing else, who require scapegoats. That's all he's doing. He's trying to appeal to the reform lot, and it's a waste of time. It's a total waste of time. Even if he were sincere, it would be a waste of time. And in the same breath, he's also alienating everyone, not only people on the left, but entire demographics. Like, that Labour could be energizing against fascism, could be uniting against fascism. I fucking hate him. I fucking hate him and his entire fucking regime, to be perfectly honest. And they are, insofar as I'm concerned, they are like, they're not even the death knell, they're the after echoes of the death knell of British politics. What they're allowing these right-wing chuckle fucks, like Nigel Farage, by the way, to dictate the terms and parameters of discourse in British politics. At this point, Reform may as well be in charge already because of the way they're puppeteering the political discourse and defining the parameters of it. And Farage is a really great example of what I'm talking about. These people, they're basically authoritarian at heart. And they love their masters. They love someone like Nigel Farage, who was born to privilege, who hasn't worked a single fucking day in his life, hasn't done a real job a single fucking day in his life, cannot possibly understand what it's like to live from paycheck to paycheck, cannot possibly understand what the plight of the normal man is like, but they surrender themselves to him. They bow down and they bring him, because he sings the right tunes, because he sings the right songs, because he exhibits the right vibes, yeah? He tells the right fucking stories. And that's it. They are people who sublimely lack any kind of insight whatsoever. If something to them, if something feels right, then it's right. That's it. If something makes them feel good, then it's right, and that's it. And here's the fucking thing. If you ever engage with them, then you understand that they project that. They will call us. They will say, oh, fuck your feelings. Oh, reality doesn't care about your feelings. No, it fucking doesn't. Reality doesn't care about anyone's fucking feelings, including yours. And the reality is, just look at something base, the economic reality of Brexit, which is fucking disaster. If we continue down the road we're going, then the UK is just going to collapse in on itself because of Brexit. The one good thing Keir Starmer has done, the one fucking good thing, which is start a dialogue with Europe, a sincere and real dialogue with Europe to get trade going again. And what have you got? Those people and those media outlets that are involved, that are invested so deeply in the sunk cost fallacy of Brexit that they can't pull away from it now because it's all they've got left. It's all they fucking got left. If they for 1 second admitted that it was always a fucking disaster and it was always going to be a fucking disaster and it was designed to be a fucking disaster, then that would be it for them. In fact, they would probably collapse in on themselves as their readership turns on them. It is a cult. It is a cult, and Brexit and Trump are the gods, the icons of it. All they've got, but it's all over like the right-wing press at the moment, and they haven't got any reality. There's no actual reference to reality. There's just vibes. There's just narrative. They're saying things like, Brexit is dead. Oh, we may as well not have had Brexit. It was never done properly. You hear that all the fucking time. What do you mean? What do you fucking mean when you say that? It was done exactly as you voted for. What you voted for happened, and that's it. That is it. The reason it failed is not because of some left-wing influence that stopped it happening properly, or because the politicians were incompetent, although they fucking were. Don't get me wrong, they fucking were. It's because it was never going to succeed in the way you thought. That thing you have in your head, that sunlit uplands nonsense, that ahistorical, bucolic, Edenic bullshit, this idea of a Britain with the flags and the purely white population, which is part of it, isn't it? Let's be honest. Racism is a huge part of it. Doesn't exist and has never fucking existed and will never exist. It will never exist. It is a myth. And the fact that that is your idea, that's what you have in your head as some kind of utopia, that tells me everything I need to know about you. Your narratives are poison. Don't get me wrong. All of us have narrative. All of us have these myths of ourselves. That's the way our minds work. That's the way our minds work. And all of us have ideas of what we want our cultures and our countries to look like, right? Theirs is poison. Theirs is this Oswald Mosley fucking fascist, insupportable anti-reality fantasy. And it's not even a good fantasy. It's not even a positive fantasy. I don't have any problem with utopias being unachievable. That's not the point. The point is to have the aspiration to work towards it. The act of working towards something better is good. The act of change is good, but not when it's that idea, not when it's working towards that complete, utter, it's unsupportable. It's not only unsupportable, it is complete. It is completely beyond any notion of reality, of lived reality. And yet they will assert, because they're invested so much in it, that it is the very measure of reality. That it's, I mean, these people are pathetic. This is the other thing, right? These people are weak. That's what really disgusts me about them. They're weak. They've got no insight. They've got no imagination. They've got no ability to look inward and think about, so why do I think this way? Why am I feeling this way? Why does this particular narrative and image stir me in this way? What influences are acting upon me? And the reason they don't do that, and the reason they don't have that capacity, is because they have actively dulled it throughout their entire lives. Because if they did, they'd realize the reason they think and feel this way, the reason they identify with these fascist ideas of utopia, these bullshit narratives, is because they are ruined. It's because they're weak, it's because they're ruined, and because they've got no hope for the future or for themselves. They cannot even allow for 1 second that A, they're wrong, that B, the narratives they've been fed their entire lives are bullshit. They cannot, and they've got nothing else. That's the other thing. If they allowed it for a second, they'd realize that they're ashen inside, they're hollow. There's nothing they identify by that is positive or good, or entirely superficial. That's the other thing. Everything they identify by is a mask, it's a shell. Inside, they're hollow. There's nothing real. And you know what? This is why they hate gay people and queer people and trans people. This is part of why they hate queer and trans people. It's because we live sincerely. It's because we have something real. We have something they cannot, they are actively disgusted by and cannot understand, which is sincerity, conviction. To them, to these people and their entire ideology, sincerity is like salt to the slug. It's like sunlight to the vampire. They cannot abide it. And they can't even interpret their own disgust and their own antipathy towards it. They will revert, as they always do, by the way, they'll revert to the mask of morality. They will say that they're disgusted on an aesthetic or moral level, when in fact, if you dug underneath, if you just poured through a little bit, the reason they're disgusted by us is because we're not afraid. We're not afraid of ourselves. We're not afraid of what we want and what we feel and what we take pleasure in. They are. They are absolutely fucking terrified. Have you seen, by the way, as a tangent, have you seen the narratives that are going around, the sort of manosphere Andrew Tate bullshit narratives that are going around like straight cis quarters of the internet at the moment? It's fucking insane. They are terrified of everything. They're weak little boys who have never been given anything concrete in their entire lives and have been taught actively to be terrified of themselves. Not only of other people and of other men, but of themselves. Anything they genuinely feel, anything they sincerely desire or want or take pleasure in or find satisfaction in or just want to express, they've been taught to be terrified of it and thereby to be disgusted by it. It's amazing. They are so. The straights are not okay, guys. I don't know whether you've noticed, but the straights are not okay. And that vacuum of identity, that that inner conflict where they are at odds with themselves is being transposed and projected out across all of culture and society. Again, it's why they hate us, because we have some sincere core of who we are. You know, they have to cleave to these ideas that don't serve them, that actually turn them against themselves and make them torture chambers in their own heads and minds, in their own souls. And they can't abide it. And as a result, they can't abide people who are free. They can't abide people who are just not concerned by this. Like, you know, for the most part, I'm sure there are gay guys who are like this, but they are very much in the minority. And I imagine as a result of the fact that the narratives that traditionally and historically apply to our straight, cisgender cousins and siblings, just we've been excluded from. They do not apply to us. We've been sort of ejected from them. And so we don't fucking care about what a man is. We don't fucking care about what's masculine or not. It's bullshit. It's garbage. It's absolute nonsense. You know the irony? I'm like physically, this big hairy guy. You know, physically I look like a bloke. You know, I'm a bloke. But it's like I don't fucking give a shit. It's nonsense. It's nothing to me. Your masculinity or what the fact that people bother concerning themselves with what a real man is or what a real woman is, utter nonsense. What a torture chamber. What a wasp's nest your mind must be. If that's the case, what a fucking nightmare your mind must be. You are torturing yourselves. You are being tortured by hit by narrative. You are being tortured by these ghosts in your head, the concerns of dead men, uh, that don't mean anything. All they're going to do is kill you. All they're going to do is harm you. But that is all over. I'm seeing posts by straight guys who are saying things like, "Does this make me gay? Does this make me less of a man if I'm doing this?" And some of them are like, "You are fucking insane." Some of them are describing heterosexual activities with someone of the opposite sex. Does this make me less of a man? Are you fucking kidding? I cannot imagine existing like that. I can't imagine existing in that kind of torture chamber, you know? And don't get me wrong, all of us have torture chambers in our own heads. All of us have that stuff swirling around, but not like that, you know? But some of us, it's more It's more sincere. Our confusions and our neuroses come from a whole host of different sources. But I don't concern myself with that bullshit, and I consider it weak. That's the other thing. I find it kind of repellent, if I'm perfectly honest, because it's weak. You don't need to concern yourself with it. You know what? Here's the irony. When you concern yourself and you quibble about things like that, it's kind of gay, guys. In the most pejorative, like traditional sense. I've never seen anything like it. There is, ask anyone, ask any queer person, there's nothing more sort of like suggestive of someone being in the closet and needing help to come out than being hyper masculine and hyper straight and like there is no such thing. This is the other thing. If you bother to go and look at any of the studies that have ever been done into human sexuality, these binaries of gay and straight and male and female and masculine and feminine, they don't really hold water when it comes to any kind of, not even biological reality. I mean, that's the other thing. Don't just read psychology and sociology. Read the biological studies. Go and look at some of the pathological studies that look at the brain structures of cisgender men and women and trans men and women, and you'll be very surprised. Go and look at the gynecological studies that look at the spectrum of variation that exists in sex, in brute anatomical sex, and you will be shocked, you will be surprised. This assertion of being a proper man or of being a proper woman, it it's the emperor's new clothes. It's the lady doth protest too much, yeah? If you need to assert that so heavily, and if you have to invest in that so significantly, then it kind of betrays your lack of certainty. It betrays the neurosis, right? It's an expression of the neurosis. It shows that you are actually not secure in your masculinity or whatever gender identity you happen to have. I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. I've never seen anything like it. I really haven't. But yeah, I don't talk to these people anymore. I don't argue with transphobes. I don't argue with homophobes. I don't talk to conservatives or right wingers or fascists. There's no point. You are wasting your time. They don't engage sincerely. You know those really annoying people on YouTube who will enter into debates with them because they think it's the right thing to do. They think that they're reaching across the aisle or they're being reasonable. No, you are not. You are not, because they don't engage sincerely. When you do that, they don't sit down with the same presumptions or assumptions of the situation that you do. What they're thinking is, I've got a mark here. This is a way for me to gain legitimacy and status because this person is willing to sit down and talk to me. I've already won. I don't need to engage honestly in this debate because I've already won by this person legitimizing me, especially if there's someone of status, by the way, like Stephen Fry talking to Jordan Peterson. I mean, I've lost so much respect for that man as a result of that because Jordan Peterson saw him coming a fucking mile away. Saw him coming a mile away. And what people like Jordan Peterson think is, I've got a mark here. This gives me status. It's like, ask any street side grifter. Ask any con artist. It makes more sense to target a smart mark than a stupid one. Anyone can con a stupid person, right? It gives you status and prestige if you can con a smart person. And that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. They see people like Stephen Fry with their idealism and with their sort of like, I'm comfortable and I want everyone else to be comfortable reaching across the aisle bullshit. And what do? They hold out their hand to reach across the aisle and then they step back. And they say, oh, you're not meeting me in the middle. And then they step back again. Oh, come on, you're being unreasonable. You're not meeting me in the middle. Come on, step forward, a bit further, a bit further. And also, they say to their followers, oh, look, this person is willing to sit down and talk to me. So, though my critics are therefore unreasonable, this person, this icon, this very intelligent person is willing to sit down and talk to me. Therefore, I and my ideas must be somewhat reasonable. That's what they do. That's what they do. They do not engage in discussion or discourse or debate of any kind sincerely or with any genuine conviction. They do it to gain themselves traction and status and to mask themselves. Because underneath it all, when you boil it down, and Jordan Peterson's a great example of this, if you can boil away the flim-flam and the obscurantist bullshit at which he is a master, underneath, you've got nothing but fascism. You've got nothing but this desire for dominion based on arbitrary principles, arbitrary factors of being, and that's it. You've got nothing else. All of his bull. I can't believe people take him seriously. I really can't. But I find that with the vast majority of right wing grifters. I really do. I find it insane that people can sell themselves to them so readily. People like Nigel Farage, people like Ben Shapiro, people like Lawrence Fox and Katie Hopkins, and all of these assholes who are so. If you are not part of the, if you are not at the target, you can see the flim flam. You can see the flim flam for what it is, so sincerely. And of course, what the right will do. Hey, if there's anyone right wing out here, they're automatically going to this defense mechanism. Oh, the same is true of you. Who do you follow? I don't. Here's the thing. I don't. I don't listen to any like figure cultishly or slavishly. In fact, a lot of them who pretend to be left wing, I really fucking hate because they're not. Um, I really fucking hate. I determine my perspectives and my ideas based on what I perceive and what I consider and what I see. There's no figure or person that I follow or believe in to the point whereby I wouldn't accept criticism of them, or whereby I wouldn't criticize them myself. I cannot think of anyone, actually. I cannot think of a single, like, figure or flapping head or journalist or anyone that I follow who I think is unambiguously correct. Or some people are sometimes right, some people are sometimes wrong, but it's that particular dynamic that determines whether they're right or wrong. Yeah, it's not who they are. The same is not true on the right. It's endemic on the right. The cults of personality are endemic on the right because that's part of authoritarianism. That's part of fascism. That's part of the narrative. They have to be absolutely right because if they're wrong on anything, then that's it. They could be wrong on all things. That's the way fascism and right wing and conservative ideology works. It's all or nothing, which is why you've got Trumpism. It's why you've got Brexit. It's why you've got people who still fucking believe in this country that Boris Johnson, of all people, was somehow qualified to be prime minister, but Jeremy Corbyn wasn't. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. It's why you've still got people who believe that Nigel Farage is in any way could be anywhere near public office. When if you step back and just look at where his business links are. Those of you who think that he's not even a real nationalist. This is the fun thing about people like Farage. They know the spiel, they know the songs, they know the narratives that stir their followers. They know how to leash them through the nose by their bigotries and their prejudices. But if you step back and look at where their business links are and where their funding comes from and where their support comes from, which with Nigel Farage is throughout Europe and primarily Russia and America. Yeah, Russia and America are significant to Nigel Farage's business and money and his influence and power. Then you see where his real interests lie. And it's brute. It's really obvious. They don't try to hide it. This is not like a conspiracy theory or anything. Go and look. Go and look. Just go and look now. Look up Nigel Farage business or Nigel Farage funding or something like that, and you'll find it. You will find where all his money fucking comes from and where his interests genuinely lie. And it's not even subtle. It's not even subtle. And the discrepancy between that and the narratives that he spews, this sort of Britain for the British, what he really wants is to sell Britain off piece by piece to his masters. And it gives him some satisfaction to know that he's pulling the wool over your eyes as well. It gives over his followers. I guarantee if you could get a camera and a microphone into one of the private meetings between him and his fucking fellows, the contempt for their followers would be obscene. It would be obscene. You'd hear them say, talking about what marks they are, what dupe they are, how fucking stupid they are. that he would have nothing but contempt for them, I guarantee you. And that's the thing. That's why you don't deal with conservatives and right wingers, because they're never sincere. They're never sincere. They never talk about what their actual agendas and interests are, except in very rare circumstances, usually between one another. If you can get into one of their private spaces, then they do. Then they're sincere. Then they're honest. But to us, no, never, never, because they know that if they were honest in public, all support for them would collapse. All support for them would collapse. And that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. It's why we don't deal with them anymore. They are fucking fascists. They are insincere. There is no point in engaging with them. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of time. And all they will do is take it as a victory. That's it. That's it. It doesn't matter what you throw at them. It doesn't matter what you talk to them about. It doesn't matter what you show them. It's a zero. It's a sunk cost fallacy at this point. It just doesn't matter. They are cultish. The Brexit lot, the Trump lot, the MAGA, the transphobes, the homophobes. They're so consumed by their narratives, and they will project that onto us. They will say, "No, that's true of you. What about?" They'll do the "what about?" What about you? What about this? Not understanding that actually it's just not true. Not all of, I mean, it can be true of people on the left. It can be true of people who, yeah, it can be true of anyone that you can be consumed by your narratives. That is absolutely true. And your narratives can poison you against criticism and against alternative ideas. That is absolutely true. But what I find generally is that it is not true of the people I associate with. You know, the people I associate with have stepped back and looked at reality. They've stepped back and they've looked at what is actually happening. They've looked and they are living sincerely. They are like my trans friends. They're living what they feel. They're living what they think. They're living what they are. And that's it. That's it. They are living sincerely. And that ultimately, the bottom line, that is what the right hates. That is why they hate us. That is why they want to destroy us. And that is why they'll fucking fail. That is why they'll fucking fail.